Tonight, with soaring temperatures and scorching wildfires, is the era of global boiling here. And China's advocacy for Palestinian rights at the UN Security Council. Later in the show, we discuss the upcoming Muslims for Climate Justice Summit and how Muslims can advocate for climate justice within an Islamic framework.
And really, this conference, we're creating this conference to just try and make it more easy for the Muslim community to be active participants in climate justice.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I am Saamiyah Syed. UN and EU monitors say that July is set to be the hottest month on recorded history. UN Chief Antonio Guterres is calling this era the global boiling. They say the temperatures are likely unprecedented for thousands of years, warning that this is a taste of the world's climate future. Searing heat intensified by global warming has baked parts of Europe, Asia, and North America this month. Wildfires have doubled the heat effect that is scorching across Canada and parts of southern Europe. 3 weeks of July have already registered temperatures above global averages, higher than any comparative period. A motorcycle laden with explosives has detonated in a Damascus suburb near a Shia Muslim shrine. The Syrian Interior Ministry has confirmed yesterday's blast has resulted in the loss of at least 6 lives and left dozens injured. 26 of the wounded individuals are receiving treatment at various hospitals. 20 others were treated at the scene and later discharged. This tragic incident was the second explosion in the Sayyida Zainab neighborhood in the days leading up to Ashura. Earlier on Tuesday, Syrian state media reported that 2 civilians were wounded when another motorcycle loaded with explosives was detonated. The explosion took place in close proximity to positions held by Iranian militias who are a key ally of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad along with Russia in the ongoing 13-year civil conflict in Syria. The area known as Sayyida Zainab is named after the shrine of Sayyida Zainab, the granddaughter of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. During the early years of the conflict, protecting this shrine became a rallying point for Shia fighters supporting Assad, transforming the uprising into a sectarian civil war. Ashura, which is today, is a highly significant day for Shia Muslims, occurring on the 10th day of the Islamic month of Muharram. It commemorates the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his 72 companions during the Battle of Karbala in present-day Iraq. China is calling for an end to the cycle of violence in Palestine. It has expressed concern over the deteriorating situation in the occupied Palestinian territories. Pointing to Israel's recent military operation in Jenin, Beijing's top diplomat at the UN says China is calling on all parties concerned to remain calm and exercise restraint. He says the occupying party should earnestly fulfill its obligations under international law to prevent excessive use of force by the military and police. He says Palestine and Israel are neighbors who cannot be moved away. He called for efforts to advance a 2-state solution. In June, Chinese President Xi Jinping hosted his Palestinian counterpart Mahmoud Abbas in Beijing. Xi expressed readiness to play a, quote, positive role in achieving internal reconciliation in Palestine and holding peace talks with Israel. For more on the Climate Justice Summit, please stay tuned. We'll be back after a short break. When having the conversation on climate and climate justice, as Muslims, we often find ourselves trying to connect these concepts within the principles or framework of Islam. And they are inherently connected. As Muslims, there is a civic responsibility to be sustainable and take care of the planet that we live on. And an upcoming conference hopes to unpack this idea much more. I'd like to welcome Sister Kajatu Balde from Faithfully Sustainable to share more about the conference that they have planned. Welcome to the show, Sister Kajatu. It's a pleasure to have you join us today.
Yes, thank you. Very much a pleasure to be here.
Of course. Sister Kajatu, the Climate Justice Conference is coming up. Can you give us some details about the conference?
Absolutely. So we're organizing the very first Muslim Climate Justice Conference here in New York City. It is also accessible to our global community. The first day is going to be in person in New York City, and the second day is going to be virtual. And really, this conference, we're creating this conference to just try and make it more easy for the Muslim community to be active participants in climate justice. Islam is a religion that is perfect. And so there's so many lessons within our faith through the Quran and through the Hadith, where we as Muslims are taught how to be environmental stewards. And so we're hoping that this conference is going to activate the Muslim community, educate them on environmental justice, climate justice through an Islamic lens, and then activate them towards creating solutions that are going to be good for all of us in this planet.
Mm-hmm. Now, most of our audience is in Canada. So I know you mentioned there is a virtual attendance for the second day. Is that an option for the first day as well?
Yes, the first day is going to be streamed. And so the whole entire conference is going to be accessible to the community in Canada and everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And is there a fee to attend the conference?
Yes, there is a fee. We have a virtual fee as well as an in-person ticket fee. And we try to make it as accessible as possible to everyone.
Okay. So now I'm wondering, you said this is the first time that this conference will be held. Why hold the conference or start it this year?
Well, we really wish that a conference like this had been held before, honestly, but because we don't have it, our organization, Faithfully Sustainable, has decided to start this conference. Inshallah, the idea is we're going to start it in New York City, but we're hoping to expand in other areas. Maybe Canada is going to be the next location. But the reason why we need to start it is because climate change, it has been here. Muslim majority countries especially are experiencing the brunt of the climate crisis. And so it's time as Muslims that we really put that we really get to the front lines of this climate movement and really try to see what we can do to really create a world that is healthier. The future generations depend on us. And so it's very much time that we as Muslims be at the front lines of this climate movement.
Mm-hmm. There are a number of climate justice conferences that are already being held. Why hold one specifically geared towards Muslims?
Because the Muslim community holds a lot of knowledge relating specifically to environmental stewardship that the wider community does not know. You think about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for example. There's countless hadith, where he talks about how to be good to people, how to be good to your planet. And he was actually one of the first recorded individuals known to be a tree hugger. So as Muslims, we have a tradition of environmental stewardship. And we really think that it's time that we come together to learn more about environmental stewardship through the Islamic lens as a way to get our community to be more active in this movement.
And that idea of stewardship is actually connected to one of the themes for this year's conference, which is the idea of amana. Can you tell us what amana means and how it connects to the summit and also the whole idea of climate justice?
Yes, so the word amana in Arabic means stewardship. It means more so guardianship and responsibility. And so as Muslims, we have a responsibility to this earth that is given to us, not by, anybody else really, but by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so that's a big responsibility. In the Quran, we are ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect this earth. And so that's a huge responsibility that we haven't seen many Muslim communities or Muslim individuals really be active in this space. But it's really time that we all come together to start, creating solutions around this really major issue that's affecting a lot of our countries in day-to-day life.
And I can see how the conference fits in with that. But, I was taking a look at the agenda for the day online, and there's quite a diverse set of programs that are available for throughout the days. Can you share more about the programming?
Yes, so we create the programming to fit all types of Muslims, right? So ideally, we want huge participation from all of the Muslim community. And the way that the programming is set up is to really be able to break down what is climate justice, how does climate justice relate to us as Muslims, what is the Islamic framework around climate justice. And so the programming of this conference is going to break down a lot of the major the definitions that are used in this movement, such as climate justice, fossil fuels, all of the stuff that maybe the Muslim community might not be entirely familiar with, or they've heard, but just haven't really read too much into. And so we want this conference to be able to break down everything while also touching heavily on what does this mean to us as Muslims? What does abana mean? What does it mean when we say this is a responsibility to the planet and people are a responsibility to us as Muslims, and we have to be caretakers of the earth? And so all of the sessions are made intentionally to cover the basics of this climate justice, as well as to go into some other niche topics. We have an exciting one such as spirituality and fashion. So we have a range of different topics that hopefully is going to be really beneficial to all of the Muslim community.
Mm-hmm. And I saw that it also ends with a fashion show.
Oh, yes, we have an on-fashion show that is going to be happening as the very last event. That on-fashion show is actually meant to show the harms of the fashion industry on our planet and on people. And so we're really excited to have like a creative element to this topic at the conference as a way to highlight some of the dangers of fast fashion, specifically, as it relates to all of us, whether it's the larger fast fashion movement or the modest fashion, fast fashion movement. And so we're hoping that this very last event, it's a very exciting one. You should look forward to it. It will be a series of different spoken word pieces that highlight the harms of the fashion industry.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to pick up on something that you mentioned before, just for our audience to get a snapshot into the conversation that will be happening during the conference itself. Usually conferences like this are labeled with the word climate change, but you chose to go with climate justice. Can you explain that link between justice and the climate that the summit is doing?
Yes, so justice is a very important element within the climate crisis, because justice speaks to the disproportionate effects that climate change has on different communities. It talks about those communities that are experiencing climate change harsher than other communities might be experiencing. So you think of countries in the global south, countries where a majority of us Muslims are from, we're being impacted heavily by climate change. And so when we use this term justice, we specifically mean how does climate change affect different individuals disproportionately, and how we must center those individuals who are being most impacted by the climate crisis at the very forefront when we're having these conversations, because it is those individuals who, quite frankly, right now are dying. We have many people who are experiencing so many climate disasters that, subhanAllah, their voices really matter in these conversations, and we have to put them at the forefront. And that's what we're going to do at this conference, inshallah.
Yeah, so it helps to almost center and humanize the topic a little bit more, instead of talking about climate change as something that's, kind of up in the air. We don't always see the consequences firsthand. Then we get to see how it is directly affecting the people themselves. And then it grows your audience as well.
Yeah, it's really important to center voices of individuals who are being most impacted by any issue, but especially as it relates to the climate crisis, because we're going to continue seeing even more extreme climate disasters happen. And so it's really important that we as a Muslim community start talking about this more, especially because of what I've said earlier. A lot of these issues are really coming hard at our communities, at their homes. We're seeing increases in climate migration, communities having to move out of their homes to go to a completely different country or a different space. And a lot of it is due to the climate catastrophes that we're experiencing. And so it's really time that we come together.
Well, thank you so much, Sister Kajatu, for coming on to the show today and sharing more about the upcoming summit. All the best with the event.
Thank you so much. We hope to have the community in Canada join us, inshallah.
Inshallah, that's the plan. You are watching Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe to our channel to see more Canadian Muslim content. Stay safe, and until next time.